Hi, my name is Guillermo Mendez, and I bet you're wondering what's up next on the radio 24.7. Well, you're in the right place at the right time. Next up is Fat and Thirsty Radio with health coach Timmy Gleason. Now, if you know anyone who is on prescription medications and wants to get off, this is the show. Timmy's got 30 years of practical self-healing experience and plenty of stories to share with our audience. Now, over 800,000 people die every year from complications using legal and doctor-prescribed meds. Timmy talks about how to partner with your doctor to reduce and ultimately eliminate your need for heart, high blood pressure, and diabetes meds. Autoimmune problems? Stay tuned. Carrying too much weight and not motivated to lose it? Stay tuned. Fat and Thirsty Radio is all about the dialogue. We're talking about two of the biggest, most misunderstood causes of disease, being chronically dehydrated and not realizing it, and carrying too much extra weight. This one's easier to see. Now, these common health conditions are so normal in our society, most of us underestimate how serious they really are. Disclaimer, we won't ask you to stop taking your meds, nor be advising you to do anything without a doctor's lab results and recommendation. The ideas and products featured on this show are not intended to diagnose or replace the formal assistance provided by an MD. Please do not stop any medications until you have the blessing of your doctor. We ask that you accept fully responsibility for any decisions you make as a result of any information heard on this show. Okay? Okay. Now, Fat and Thirsty is a 30-minute show. We post programs and all titles of books and articles mentioned on our website. For questions, comments, and to tell us your success stories, please contact us on the Fat and Thirsty Radio website. And now, here she is from San Diego, California, not fat and not thirsty anymore, your host, Timmy Gleason.
Hi, Timmy here. Welcome to Fat and Thirsty Radio, the first internet radio show about the two biggest overlooked causes of illness and disease, being overweight and being chronically dehydrated. Yeah, you're saying that's probably me. Well, but you know, you don't have to settle for being sick. You don't have to feel old, and you don't have to feel tired. It's a lie that feeling old or being sick is normal. It's not normal. It's just common, and who wants to be common? I think that improving your core health is a simple thing to do when you know the tricks to healing from the inside out by learning to be hydrated and slender. We have to learn those things. You can count on me to have honest conversation in this show about the dumb mistakes we're all making and the smart moves we need to be taking. For our sake, our health, for the health of our children, we need to have these dialogues. Okay, well, I'm ready to grab a glass of water and get started. How about you? I'm going to be drinking 24 ounces while we talk, and if you can, I invite you to do the same while you listen from home or if you're in your car. So are you ready? I am. Guillermo, before you interview me, I call you Memo all the time. Talk to me about where that comes from.
Well, Timmy, Guillermo, my name is Guillermo Mendez, and I'm from Colombia, Bogotá, Colombia. Memo is just short for Guillermo, much the same as Tony is to Anthony. I've been in this country for a long time, and it's a pleasure working with you.
Thank you, and I really appreciate you helping me out with the show. Tell me a little bit about your motivation for being involved with Fat and Thirsty Radio.
Well, I'll tell you something. I've been very involved with issues in communities, particularly low-income communities, about dealing with a variety of problems, health being one of the biggest problems. I think we all know that the issue of health, particularly for people who don't have that information or access to information, it's difficult. So the issue of nutrition, the issue of how to stay healthy, and addressing it from a down home, how we say everyday people kind of perspective, is very important. It's important to you don't have to be a doctor to understand what you're saying. You have to be a nurse. You can just be a regular person who has issues and needs somebody like an aunt, like a grandma, like somebody from the old school to give information. A lot of times it's information that's been around for a long, long time, but we don't have access to that information now, and that's what motivates me to collaborate with somebody like you.
Perfect. Thank you. I really appreciate your help. Good. And then I know you through your day job. You want to share that with everybody? It's kind of interesting.
It is. I work with Kit Goldman. We work for a company called Workplace Training Network. You're going to hear an ad a little bit later on, and you get more information about the work we do. I'm a professional actor and a facilitator. What we do with Kit is that we work for companies across the country. We've been doing this for over 20 years on issues that have to do like workplace harassment, everything from sexual harassment to racial discrimination to age issues, age discrimination issues. And since we're both professional actors as well as experts in this field, what we do is we provide episodes. like theatrical episodes, so that the seminar is not so boring. People actually look at, participate in these seminars and leave with a real solid understanding of what this information is, how to prevent it, how to make sure your own behavior is in line, what to do if you see something that shouldn't be going on. And that's what I've been doing for about 15, 20 years. As an actor, I've worked in TV, on stage, street circuses, pretty much for a long time. Ever since I was a little kid, I've been an actor.
Wow. Well, I know that I got to experience the power of role-playing some of these topics you're talking about when a company that I was working in invited you and Kit to come in and teach us about how to work a room, how to network within a meeting. And,
that's right.
It was an eye-opener. Yeah, it was a real eye-opener. It was a very enjoyable way to learn, and certainly brought it home. It was more real that way. So.
Well, Timmy, that's what I look forward to working with you on this, is how to get this information, this education, health education, that's so critical, out to as many people as possible, in a way that people can digest the information. A lot of times I see programs that I feel you have to have 2 years of medical school to understand. Your program seems like it's every day. It'll tell you solid information, practical stuff that you can actually use, useful information. And that, in today's market, that's a real good thing.
Cool. Well, let's get started.
Okay.
I thought that for our first show, it might be really cool if he interviewed me on more about the show. So, Mama, would you do that for me?
Absolutely, Timmy. In fact, I have some questions. First one is, how did you come up with the name for your show? I mean, it does have edginess to it.
Well, I think most people are feeling really trapped and anxious about taking medications. And I've talked to a lot of people about it, and they tell me that they don't really feel very well and that they worry about the side effects of the drugs, maybe side effects that they don't even realize are happening to them. And I think that, we've all had close calls with drugs. Maybe we had some surgery, or maybe we had to be on some pain pills or something, and we got off of those drugs as quick as we could because we knew they're messing us up.
Yep.
But I don't think most people realize that when doctors give them medications for chronic diseases that they can really avoid those medications. And I know they can, maybe not all the time, but in many, many cases they can, or they can even wean themselves off over a period of time. Yeah, I'm being edgy, and I want to kind of pique the curiosity of my audience for changing what's possible, because it is possible to reverse some of these inherited diseases that we have and illnesses by changing our behavior in little, kind of unthought of ways.
That is true, Timmy. Now, what are you hoping you can bring to your listeners? Do you have specific goals for the show?
I do. I'm a bit of an instigator and an opportunist at heart, and I'm going to introduce a new perspective about hydration and weight that's really exciting, and it's motivating, and it's very feasible for most people. And I was going to provide common sense education on a topic that really there's little information, and the topics have to do with how much water we drink and why we need to drink it, what it's really doing, and the types of water. Because I think there's tons of misunderstanding about weight and water. I've got a couple more. I'm thinking I want to help listeners realize how carrying around too much weight affects their quality of health at a very root cause level and in ways that our society doesn't really recognize or talk about. Most people don't really know how to partner with their doctors. I want to be helping people learn how to coach, be more assertive with their doctors, how to get the blessing of their doctor so that they can either reduce or eliminate their chronic dependence on prescription drugs. I don't believe in my heart that most doctors really enjoy prescribing medications, and actually they enjoy patients who challenge them and who are collaborating with them to self-heal. And finally, I want to create aha moments for my listeners where they're listening and they begin to realize that they are empowered to correct their health problems by experimenting with my fat and thirsty philosophy.
Well, that's great, Timmy. Look, that's an interesting word, experimenting with fat and thirsty philosophy. Don't you want them to follow it?
Well, life is not black and white, and the rules of getting healthy are not black and white. They're not that straightforward. Everyone's situation is different, and everyone's body is different. And most illnesses are just not that simple. Like, the AMA would have us believe it isn't a nail hammer kind of a situation. Bodies are a system, and healing occurs in layers. And that's what I want to get across to people so that they can figure out their own situation more effectively, or at least take better data and have better data when they go to their doctor and use their intuition when they go to their appointment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes, we think what's wrong with us is simple, and really there's a deeper root cause for why we're sick. For instance, a thyroid problem could be a symptom of another deeper problem that's throwing off the thyroid. So the thyroid really becomes the symptom. And until that root cause is resolved, the thyroid just doesn't get better, and all the medication in the world isn't going to cure the problem. And then, the other thing is that people, a lot of them are really dehydrated, and they don't even have a clue of that because they don't feel thirsty, and no one's ever told them that they're chronically dehydrated. So it's kind of like running a car. And a lot of you are going to be able to relate to that, I think.
Sure.
Yeah, it's if you don't have enough water in your radiator, then it shuts down. It gets overheated.
That's a very basic point. That you're right. That is very basic. You're not overweight at all to me, and you look much younger than most people your age. Did you used to be overweight, and did you used to have health problems?
Yeah, I did. The kind of health problems I've had is that since I've been a child, when I was 7, 8 years old, I've had autoimmune disease. I have a skin situation where I don't have pigment in my skin. And once you have one autoimmune system problem, you are susceptible to all of them. So I've had brushes with thyroid, brushes with Graves' disease, brushes with arthritis. I had a high C-reactive protein. I've been borderline diabetic, borderline high blood pressure, and I had cholesterol problems. So I've been able to turn all that around, and I lost 35 pounds. I had been up to 210 pounds. I'm about 5'8", and when I lost the first 20 pounds, I went to give blood, and in doing so realized that my cholesterol had plummeted, gone down 90 points, and I was in a normal range for the first time in many, many, many years just by losing that weight. And I do attribute that, though. It wasn't just the weight. It was the fact that in changing my diet, I lowered my the high glycemic foods that I was eating, which would be, wheat, rice, and corn, potatoes too. And I was obviously not assimilating them previously, even though I didn't have any, obvious allergic reactions. Just by cutting them out, I started to get better. So I've lost weight. I've lowered my cholesterol. I did it through Take Shape for Life, and if anybody's curious about that and wants to ask me, you can email me, and I'll tell you more about that, or we'll have a show on it sometime. You asked about how I look. 62 years old. Most people take me for about 48 to 52.
Sure, yeah.
Which is really cool. And I definitely want, that's working for me, and I definitely want more of that. And we all do. We all want to feel youthful, and we want to look good and to be attractive. The picture on my website is pretty accurate. It's very accurate, actually, I should say, and it's a happy thing for me. I drink half my body weight in ounces of water per day. That means, when I weighed 210, I was actually on a schedule to drink 100 ounces of water per day, and it's a lot. But that's what I'm going to talk about on the show too, is how to do that. So I carry around 24-ounce bottles of water. I drink them at certain times every day. I make sure I schedule it in. And
well, let me ask you something about that. You said you're interested in drinking water, and I know you said that you used to not value it like you do now.
Well, that's true. I was told when I'd gotten my blood done years ago that I was hydrated enough, and I think there's a lot of people that aren't. So I wasn't motivated. I was hydrated enough, but I wasn't motivated to really drink more water. And I had a dilemma. I had some conflict in my life about that because I love riding my bicycle around Mission Bay here in San Diego, where I live.
Right.
And when you do that, you have to stop and you have to drink water. And I would take the normal water that everybody's drinking with me, and I would stop and drink. And I'll tell you what, I didn't feel better. I didn't feel less thirsty. And then the water would just kind of sit there on my bladder, just kind of slosh around in my tummy. You could hear it. And I was thinking, man, there's got to be a designer water. What does Lance Armstrong drink? What are people drinking who are really benefiting from drinking water? Because I didn't feel well. And so I started to think about, what other water is there besides the stuff I'm buying in bottles? and that'll be one of my topics. And then the other thing is I started reading about water, and I discovered this fascinating book called You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty. And it's by an Iranian doctor named Batmanovich. And the easiest way to remember that, because it's almost impossible to spell, is just call him Dr. Batman.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kit Goldman, president of the Workplace Training Network. We are proud to sponsor the Fat and Thirsty radio show. Workplace Training Network provides powerful, entertaining, interactive training to businesses on topics like harassment, discrimination, communication, and violence prevention. We deliver it live at your workplace or online or on DVD, and it is incredibly affordable, even for the smallest business. Our clients range from kitchen table entrepreneurs to mom-and-pop businesses to multinational corporations. Our training has never been more important to the health, safety, and well-being of your workplace. So let us know how we can help your business, or please let your employer know that you've heard about a great way to train. Now, here's how to reach me. Give me a call at 619-794-2718. That's 619-794-2718. Or visit us at workplacetrainingnetwork.com. That's workplacetrainingnetwork.com. See what our clients have to say and see how affordably we can take care of your training.
Okay, so I wanted to tell you about Dr. Batmanovich, and he is a fascinating person to me. He did pass away in around 2004, I think. But the thing was with him was that he was this Iranian doctor, and he was real popular during the day when when Ayatollah Khomeini was running Iran, and there was a lot of issues with uprisings and political prisoners and that kind of thing. And he was arrested, and he was put in prison. And they had him there, and he was to be killed. And the prisoners came to him. There was a lot of suffering and a lot of noise and squalor and that kind of thing. And a prisoner came to him and said, "Doctor, you got to help my friend." And he said, "Well, yes, I'm a doctor, but I don't have any tools. I don't have any way to help your friend." And the guy said, "Just come and look at him. Just come." And so he did, and he went and stood, kneeled down next to this guy. And all there was really was some water. So, in an effort to appear to do something, he gave the man some sips of water, and in about 20 minutes, the pain in this man subsided. So he gave him water, and what happened was, just, to kind of make a long story short, over a period of time, he realized that he could relieve the pain and the suffering of the people in this prison by feeding them water, and he started to do research on it. Well, they didn't ever kill him and execute him. And after 2 years, they pulled him into the main office, and they said, Dr. Batmanovich, we're not going to execute you, and we are actually going to release you. And
he got a promotion. Wow.
He got a promotion.
Wow. Water is a good reason to drink water right there. Wow. That's something else.
And they were going to let him go, and he said, "Well, I'm not ready to leave. I'm doing research, and I've realized that this whole thing of drinking water, there's something to it." And of course, in Iran, and in those days, which would have been, I think, in the 1980s, I probably should look it up.
The early 80s, yeah.
It would have been water. It would have been well water. It would have been water that was not like the water we drink today. It would have been a higher alkalinity. It wouldn't have had chemicals in it. It would have been a purer, better water. So he did research. He stayed there for over 2 years, and they thanked him for the contribution that he had made to the people in the prison. He then came to the United States and started to work on his theories and stuff here. And he worked for many, many years trying to get the AMA to acknowledge his work and to quit treating asthma with drugs, which are actually dehydrating, but to talk to kids and their parents about being more hydrated. And he didn't promote any particular kind of water. And again, in those days, water was different than it is now. And that's something I'm going to be talking about on my show. But it's a fascinating story. It's an inspiring story.
What a man! What a man! What a
I mean, it was luck, sort of almost, that he came upon this, and then also the generosity of his heart that he would even try to help someone who didn't have any of his tricks of his trade. But that's the miracle of water and hydration. And I love his book. It's called "You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty." And if you go into Amazon, it's like a $12 book. And if you just type in Dr. Batman, you'll get there because it's most of his name. And you can order it. And inside there's like lists and lists and lists, like reasons of why you should drink water. And then it has more information about the stages of water.
Let me ask you something real quick. How many glasses of water should somebody generally drink a day?
Okay, it's ounces. So you start with ounces. So if you weigh 100 pounds, you would be drinking, we would recommend that you drink half of your body weight in ounces, so that would be 50 ounces. If you're 200 pounds, it would be 100 ounces. And then you divide that by 8 ounces to get your number of glasses. In my case, I run around with these containers that are 24 ounces, so I just work in that's 3 glasses for each bottle I drink, and that's the way I operate. Because I've been, close to 200 pounds, so I was trying to, drink 100 ounces a day, and it takes effort to do that because you have to think about it. I can drink a whole bottle of 24 ounces in a matter of minutes, maybe like most of it, and then take a breath and then do the rest of it. And I drink water that's high alkalinity, so it's soft and it's tasty, and it's easy to drink, and it goes down easy. It isn't.
And the benefits are all around, right?
Because there's a couple things. The water I'm drinking that's high alkalinity also is also microclustered, so it's very easy to absorb. And I'm thinking that most well waters and things are. But yeah, it's to your skin, it's to your brain. This is going to be another show that I'm going to do. Is your brain is your drought manager. Your brain. Oh my gosh, it regulates how you feel, and if it has to have water. I mean, think about it, Memo. If your brain doesn't have water, your brain can't function. You can't function. I mean, it's the control center for your body. So when your brain doesn't get enough water, it steals water. And where do you think it steals it from? It's stealing it from your muscles, from your bones, from your blood. So you're going to have aches and pains. You're going to have headaches. There's all kinds of things that happen.
So there's a water deficit. You're saying there's a water deficit.
Yeah.
And that just creates all kinds of health problems.
And we take it for granted. We just don't get it. And then plus the water we're drinking, and I really hate to say this because it kind of creates a dilemma for us, but the water we're drinking is not quality water. So we have to think about, well, where can we get it? And what are the issues? And I will talk about that on one of the shows pretty early on, because it's important to think about if you are stuck with drinking water that what I would call dead water, which doesn't have any minerals in it and isn't really going to help you. That's another thing, and not to go off on a big tangent, but your body is bioelectric. You've got to have the minerals. The minerals are the electric part. When we drink the waters that are produced by the beverage companies, which are purified or reverse osmosis, and they don't have any, or distilled, they don't have any minerals in them, there's no connectivity. And then the other thing is that the water is so manhandled that we get, the bottled water, that's so manhandled that there's just no quality to it. It's just nothing water. There's no oxidizing qualities to it. It's not really, you're actually drinking it and it's making things worse. It's drying you out because it's oxidating.
And here's what I see as a big problem to me, like particularly from poor communities, low-income communities. If you have money, if you have a lot of money, you can go to any store and buy whatever. But how do regular, everyday people, working people, how can they get the water that they need?
Well, that's it. I mean, I think there's a problem in our country with that. And when you think about the fact that more and more companies are bottling the water, so it's now becoming corporate controlled, we have issues. So I'm not going to say that I have all the answers for that, but this is something we need to talk about on the show, and I'm going to be pulling in some experts, and we're going to be brainstorming this. At the very least, sometimes tap water is better than anything. And there's some ways you can use tap water. And, the problem with tap water, two big problems with tap water, is that there's lye in the tap water. And that's how they get it to be 7.0, which is the pH level that you want to have. And so you're taking in all this lye. And the other thing is they're putting chlorine and fluoride in the water. So, it's all pretty controversial. And I don't want people to feel discouraged, but it's not a simple answer. It's not a simple answer.
You're right. We got to keep pressing on. And
we got to work
good about the show.
Yeah. That's exactly why we're doing the show. So thank you for asking me that question.
You got it.
And if you go into Amazon and you type in Dr. Batman and you're not thirsty, or you're not sick, you're thirsty, you can find his book really easily. But the thing that really kind of changed everything for me was realizing that there are stages of dehydration. This is one of
stages.
Pardon me?
You said stages, right?
Stages of dehydration. I mean, when we think about dehydration, what do we think about? We think about, a desert scene, a guy dragging himself along the sand. That's what we think about. But actually, it's happening every day. And what was so fascinating to me is that the first level of dehydration is related to your brain and your moods. So when you're moody, when you're irritable, when your energy is low, when you can't think, when you can't remember things, people say, I'm getting old. Well, maybe a glass of water would make a really big difference.
I think I need a glass of water right now. You're right. That's true.
I always have one sitting here, and it's really common, and we take it for granted. And headaches are a part of that, too. Yeah. And then when you go into the second stage, now you're talking about a lot of the childhood illnesses that we've had, allergies, asthma, even diabetes type 2, and the autoimmune disease stuff is all at the second stage. And then third stage stuff gets a lot more serious. It's more the cancers, the heart diseases, life-threatening diseases.
Wow.
But it was like, oh my gosh, this is a huge revelation to me. I'd been thirsty my whole life, and I didn't even get it. So that was a really big deal to me.
And you mentioned earlier, that 800,000 people die per year from overdoses, allergic reactions, conflicts between medications. What about that motivates you, Timmy?
Well, these statistics of it being 800,000, this is actually from around 2008, and here we are in 2012, just about, and I suspect that these numbers are actually larger because these are just the numbers that are reported, so there's going to be a lot of things that aren't reported, either to cover somebody's butt or just because they died of a heart failure or something and they report it that way. But I just thought that was fascinating, and I had some personal experience with that. Two things. One is that recently I went on Facebook and I did one of their surveys, and I asked people, are you taking medication? And then I gave them a multiple choice of, how do you feel? And it was really an eye-opener how many people said how sad they are that they take medication and how fearful they are that there's something happening underneath that they can't tell and that they're worried about compromising their health. And then the second thing was, and it happened years ago, but I was staying with my sister at her place where she was renting a room from a really delightful 80-year-old named Helen. And Helen and I had dinner the night before, and she had confided in me that the doctor had just put her on some new heart medicine and that she didn't feel well, and she really needed to tell him that because it didn't make her feel well. The next morning, Helen got up and said goodbye to us and took off to go play golf with her girlfriends. And I came back later that day, and Helen had died. She had just collapsed on the golf course. And, I felt like, wow, was there something I could have done? I mean, Helen told me she didn't feel well. But, this was something that just was an accident. It was, she couldn't handle the meds, she didn't feel well, and she died. And there's a lot of that going on.
Yep, there is. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Timmy, this is extremely important and useful information you're providing us. I know I, for one, am looking forward to your second show.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to doing my show, and I invite everyone to tell their friends if they've got people on meds or they've got people that are trying to lose weight. No one's going to be, after the first show, going, yeah, okay, I'm ready to lose weight, probably. But over time, I think this is going to start to make sense, and I'm very, very excited about having this conversation with my listeners.
Great. And thank you for joining us today for Fat and Thirsty Radio with health coach Timmy Gleason. We invite you to leave comments and your questions on our website and sign up for our RSS at www.fatandthirstyradio.com. That's www.fatandthirstyradio.com. This is an announcer, Memo Mendez. Until next time. Next time.